Well, hello and welcome to the Mythology of Astrology with my psychic connection. I'm Squirrel, and I am so excited to be here tonight to tell you the origin story of Virgo. I've been waiting for this one for a long time. It's a beautiful story, y'all. So, now, the constellation Virgo has a list of origin stories. Got to tell you that right off the bat. Depending on the mythologer and the area of Greece that this particular mythology comes from. Most myths view Virgo as a virgin maiden who has strong associations with wheat. Now, very important to know this. The word virgin derives from the Latin root meaning strength, force, and skill. Until the introduction of the Virgin Mary by the Christians, it never meant sexually chaste. It only meant sexually independent if sex was involved. It was used to describe women who were free and not owned or tamed by anyone. A woman who was a virgin was her very own sovereign. She didn't have any man telling her what to do, or any woman, nothing. She just was strong and independent. So goddesses like Ishtar from Assyria and Babylonia, Diana, the Roman version, Astarte, Greek, and Isis from the Egyptian era were called virgins, not because they were inexperienced and pure, but because they were strong and independent. It's important to know that. You gotta, those poor Virgos have been going for hundreds of years thinking they were pure and chaste. It's strong and independent. Okay. Now, I think I've told you in other series of the mythology of astrology that all of the earth signs have one or two stories that are attached to them, and mythologers like to argue about which story is the correct one. And then there Sagittarius also has several stories attached to it. But Virgo has a flipping list. Go figure. And I think that's hysterical because Virgo and lists are like they're like, I don't know, ducks in water. So the list for Virgo includes Demeter, Persephone, Parthenos, Aragon, the Virgin Mary, Ceres, Athena, Artemis, Isis, and Tyche. The list goes on and on and on. But I did find one that actually like absolutely personifies who Virgo is and where it's coming from. And I truly, truly hope that you guys enjoy this story because you're about to see the true beauty and the true tragedy of what Virgo truly is. So, back in the times before the gods, we had something called Titans, and the Titans created the world. This was pre God. Now, there was some battling among them. And if you want to know how Kronos became the king of the Titans, you can go back and look at Pisces, and I'll tell you all about that. But at the time of this story, Kronos is in charge of the world. And this is called a golden age, a completely golden age. There was no starvation, no death, no sorrow, no work. Everybody had what they needed handed to them by the Titans. The only thing the Titans asked was that man worship them. That was our only job. Worship the Titans and work with them to expand on and keep this golden age. And everybody was happy. Now, during this golden age, a virgin goddess of innocence, purity, and precision was born. Her name was Astraea. And Astraea grew to be Oh, an absolutely beautiful woman. She was like the ambassador between the gods and the humans. What the gods needed, she would go and tell the humans. What the humans needed, she would go and tell the gods. And she kept that even beautiful, beautiful flow between the two parties. That golden age thrived for thousands of years. Okay? Now, as I said, it was a time of peace and happiness, a season of constant spring where food grew out without even cultivation. It would just grow, spring out of the ground. And we never grew old. We never knew sorrow. We never knew pain. And right around, I'd say about 500 years before the Golden Age ended, the god Kronos, or the Titan Kronos, as you were, who was the king, he learned from Gaia and Uranus a prophecy. They told him he was destined to be overcome by his own children, just as he had overthrown his father Uranus. And again, you can find that in the Pisces version. Now, Kronos had many children. He had six: Demeter, Hestia, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon by a Titan named Rhea. But he devoured them all as soon as they were born because he heard this prophecy. So when the sixth child, Zeus, was born, Zeus, y'all know that name, Rhea went to Gaia and said, please, please help me. I I can't go through what you went. I need my children to survive, and we need to get retribution on Cronus for his acts against not only his father, but his children, my children. So Gaia told her what to do. And the night that Zeus was born, Rhea secretly gave birth to him in a place called Crete, and she handed Kronos a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes. This stone was also known as the Omphalos stone, which he promptly swallowed, thinking it was his son. Didn't even chew, just swallowed. Now, Rhea kept Zeus hidden in a cave on Mount Ida in Crete. And according to some versions of the story, because mythology, you got 100,000-year-old versions, so you're going to have different viewpoints. But some versions of the story say he was raised by a goat named Amalthea, while a company of Chorites, which were armored male dancers, shouted and clapped their hands all the time to make enough noise to mask the baby's cries from Kronos. Other versions of the myth have Zeus raised by the nymph Adamanthea. Now, she was said to hide Zeus by dangling him in a rope from a tree so that he was suspended between the earth and the sky, which were ruled by his father Kronos. So, either way you put it, he was raised by something other than his mother. But either the goat or the nymph would tell him he was destined to overthrow Kronos and save his brothers and sisters and become a god. So once he grew up, Zeus went to Gaia. He snuck to Gaia and he got from her what's called an emetic. It's a medication used to induce nausea and vomiting in case of an emergency poison, just get rid of a poison. So Gaia slipped something that acted really like poison into Cronus's drink. And when he drank it, he just, oh, I'm dying, I'm dying. And he was like, no, this isn't supposed to happen. And then Zeus slipped the emetic into him. Now, Kronos didn't know who Zeus was. He'd never seen him. He did not know who this was a child, that this was his child. And when Kronos started vomiting from the emetic, all of his children came out one by one, and the stone was first. And then Kronos knew he had been deceived by both Gaia and by his wife Rhea. And a great big war started. It was called the Titanmachy, and it lasted for 10 years. And it was Zeus and his brothers and sisters, the Olympians from Mount Olympus, and then the Titans led by Kronos for control of the universe. With the Titans fought, there, my voice. Titans fought from Mount Orothus. Now, that battle lasted for, like I said, 10 years with no clear victor emerging until Gaia again stepped in and advised Zeus to release something called the Hundred Handers. They were imprisoned beneath the earth's surface and they were pretty savage. So when Zeus let them go, they joined Zeus for freeing him. And then he launched his final attack on the Titans, hurling bolts of lightning on them while the Hundred Handers attacked with rocks. And the Titans were finally defeated, and Zeus banished Kronos and his brothers to Tartarus, which was a special level of the underworld, or hell as we know it. And he assigned the Hundred Handers the task of acting as their warders. So you're like, we thought this story was about Australia. What the hell, Squirrel? Why are you talking about Zeus and Kronos? Very, very important here. Once Zeus overthrew Kronos, and that 10 years that war went on, mankind began to realize, hey, we're kind of slaves here to these titans. And Zeus was like, you know what? You guys are grown. You guys know how to deal with things. I'm going to let you go. You can do things on your own. And he made the Silver Age. Now, when the Silver Age began, Zeus shortened springtime and introduced the yearly cycle of seasons. So no more everlasting wheat. And mankind now realized what choice was. Free will became a thing, and they stopped honoring the gods quite so much, and they started to become quarrelsome. And not being under the rule of Kronos, even though it was a gently tyrannical rule, they began to start dying. They learned sickness. They learned sorrow. They learned loss. And they learned hunger. And they started getting really kind of ornery and started rebelling against the gods. Now, Astraea was still around. Remember, Zeus only imprisoned Kronos and his brothers. So Astraea was still around. And she went to the human race from city to city and said, hey, you guys, we've got to work together. We can still have a good age. We can still survive. We can still be happy. But you've got to stop being so ornery because the worse, much worse, is going to come if you guys don't start behaving because the gods will turn away. They'll stop paying attention. But nobody listened. Then came the Bronze Age, hundreds of years later. And men of the Bronze Age were hardened and tough because war was their only purpose and their only passion. The people of this age were undone by their own violent ways and they began to live only for themselves. To hell with my neighbor. To hell with my friend. To hell with my wife and my children. One by one, the gods became disgusted and they began to leave the realm of humanity. They took Mount Olympus and they put it in another realm altogether. And Astraea, she stayed and she went town to town, not just city to city, but every town she could find, begging mankind to be better to each other and to themselves. But they didn't listen. They started mocking her. They told her she was a useless god, that she could do nothing for them. Go away, Astraea. Get out. Then came the Iron Age. During this age, humans had begun to live in absolute toil and misery. It was nothing but hard work. But children dishonored their parents. Brother fought against brother. And the social contract between guest and host was forgotten. During this age, it was all about might makes right. Bad men used lies so they could be looked at as good. Lying came about. And at the height of this age, humans no longer felt shame or indignation at any wrongdoing. It was just the way things were. The world was illegally rampant. People only coveted gold, while family and friends did not trust each other. All, every god had completely forsaken humanity, saying, there's no help against this evil, except for one, Astraea. She believed in humankind. She loved humankind. And this time, she went from man to man to man, single individuals, men, women, and child, and said, please, please, we can fix this. You just got to start trusting each other. You just start giving to each other. Why are you being like this? Please. And she begged them to listen to her. And every last human said, no, go away, piss off and die. Get out of here. People threw rocks at her. People scorned her, and still she tried. She knew there had to be at least one human being who would try. And she finally got to the last child, who's the last person on earth. And she knew innocence. Children are innocent. This child will accept me, and he and I can start again. And she got down on her knees and she reached out to him and said, you and me, kid, we can make this happen. We can bring back a golden age and make mankind right again, and the gods will come home. And that child laughed at her and threw a rock, said, gods are useless. And Astraea lost her hope. She finally left us, the last god to leave, and she did not leave until the last human said, I do not accept you. And she made a path up into the sky of stars, and she put herself into the sky so she could watch and pray and hope that humankind could be good to one another. And everyone who tells the story believes that someday, Astraea will come back and we will have that golden age again. And that is the story of Virgo. Oof, okay.
Did you make it?
I made it. That
Uh,
story got tears in my eyes. That's a hard one for me because she just never gave up. And that's Virgo to a T, always trying to help, always trying to make things better, but people saying you're an egg or go away or they don't stop trying. So, Rebecca
Rebecca here.
figures we would exhaust every last resort to make things right. Yeah, that story just it slays me. It really makes me sad.
But it also talked about the story also talks about something that a lot of people aren't going to pick up or ignore that sometimes Virgos do is it showed the weaknesses to their ability to talk about the things like helping those who actually want the help versus those who don't need the help but want the attention. So I
Yeah,
even the Virgo in the story, it was not outlined in that way, but if you were listening, you could hear where they were doing that. And I know lots of Virgos that again, this is exhausting every single resource to make things right, but sometimes they're just putting themselves out and not
yeah.
realizing that they're not helping. There's a possibility that they're enabling.
That too, yes, possibility that they're enabling or trying so hard to help people see, this is the right thing
Yes,
for you to do, that they're not realizing that it might be right for them, but it might not be right for the person they're trying to help.
right,
Because I
right.
think in that story, with them
Mhm.
having been so happy in the golden age, but they didn't know the difference. They didn't know about choice. So it was almost like a coming of age. And Rebecca says 100%. And Kelly says, beautiful story, Squirrel. Thank you, Kelly. Karina said, so beautiful. Amy said, oh, hi, Amy. I hope all is well. It is. And Rebecca says, unappreciated very often. Yes, but in that particular stage, humans learned free will. They learned choice. They learned that they didn't have to just do this one thing. We weren't sheep. And before that, we were almost treated like sheep, as for the story goes. And so they rebelled, much like young children will. They went through those phases to experience all of life instead of just the joy, as our children do. And we try to tell them, don't do that, you know?
Right. But I wanted to address something that Rebecca says, which is unappreciated very often. That goes along with saying, don't give the help where it's not wanted. You got to know the difference between giving real help and just giving someone your time, because that's when you'll feel unappreciated. And it's
Yeah,
not that what you're doing isn't a good thing, but in this case, Virgo does have a hard time not wanting to help every single person.
yeah, yeah,
They
because
do
she
have
went to
that. Hmm.
every man, woman, and child
Yes,
for one person who would be what we consider human now,
right.
and they just wouldn't.
I just don't want any of our Virgos in the um, just don't want them to think that they're unappreciated. It's just knowing and determining what is good for the person and good for you versus the person that's just taking, knowing that you're going to be willing to give that time, attention, and energy because let's just say they're bored that day.
Right, right. Amy says, so does Scorpio. Oh, yeah, we do Scorpio in 2 months, huh?
Yeah, we got
But
2 months before Scorpio comes out. That'll be October 22nd, I
yeah,
think. If it's not a weekend, let's make sure about that date. I don't want to give a date out and be like, oh, wait a minute, we were wrong. No, it is a Sunday, so it'll be the 23rd when we do Scorpio.
and I think with Estrella, everything she did. Amy says, love my Virgo friends. They are so wonderful. They really are the beautiful, giving souls. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, like Journey said, sometimes you don't want what they have to give. And a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them need to learn that very hard lesson to learn about everybody. Not everybody wants your help. But with Estrella and with most Virgos, it comes from a place of love. It comes from a place of wanting to make things better for the people that they care about. So I, I really hate when I hear that Virgo is a nag. It drives me nuts. It's not so much nagging as trying to perfect those around them. But sometimes they do have to bag off on that because, yeah, that kind of advice can get kind of arg. But
Well,
they're
Virgos,
harder on themselves than anyone else.
exactly. Well, Virgos, like your story, was help every man, woman, and child. The Virgos think the same way, but not everybody thinks that way. And we got to remember that there's good and evil in the world, and know who you're helping because you could be putting your own foot in your mouth. But Virgos
Oh,
are good
yeah.
about that. And they like to go from one thing to the next thing, the next thing to the next thing. They are hard to be on the same page with because they jump to 6,000 different things that they've got this mental list of things in their mind that they want to get done. And then the 1 minute they're talking about, we've got to get hamburgers for dinner because we got that party this weekend. Da, 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 da. And then 5 seconds later, when you're like, yeah, we do need to get hamburger, I'm talking about laundry soap. When did you switch the subject?
And that beautiful energy change. And then too, a lot of times I was laughing with my mom about this today, and this may sound harsh, but it is a truism. You'll hear this often in some astrological I can't even say my own word. It's not my word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Astrological
I got you.
circles. I own that word. But so Virgos, they tell people how to do things, they tell people what they need to be doing. And when people don't listen, Virgo trails after and cleans up the mess. They clean up everybody's mess. That's what they do. That's how they work. So I was laughing with my mom and I was like, yeah, Virgos are the mental janitors of the astrological signs. But they are. They're cleaning up everybody's mess.
Yes.
Rebecca says, I do that often because I try to help my kids from making my mistakes, but then it can be seen as nagging or pessimism. And our parents did that to us. And when we were coming of age, we were like, I'm not going to make that mistake. That's one thing it's a parental thing throughout the ages. Don't make my mistakes. But our children, and when we were children growing up, we didn't want to hear that. We have to make those mistakes so that we learn from them. We can never learn from somebody else's mistakes. And Karina says, I have not had the pleasure of many Virgos in my life. I've often wondered why. I would appreciate them so much and am looking forward to having my chart done one day as can totally relate to them. Bet you money, Karina, if you're having that strong of a relating to them, there is a strong placement of Virgo in your chart. I can't wait to see. And Kelly says, my friend calls that jumping. Wow. From one thing to the next. When I do the bumbying, LOL. And Karina says, can relate, Rebecca. I'm thinking
But it,
you might have Venus in Virgo or even possibly a Virgo moon, Karina. I'm be really excited to find that out.
and going back to that, where Rebecca was talking about it may seem as it's nagging, again, knowing when to give that advice and when not to give that advice. So basically, in this case, the best thing for Virgos is to take a step back, read the room, read the person, and know I have a lot of Virgo in my chart. And
Yeah. Oh,
I myself need to take that moment. And I do, as you, well, Squirrel, you know, I
oh
take that
yeah.
moment to take that step back, but I have that Cancer energy that's like, no, think, see,
Yeah. Yeah.
observe.
Yeah. Virgo energy. Now you have like four of them, don't you? Five
Virgo?
planets in Virgo?
Yeah, four planets in Virgo.
Four planets in Virgo. That's a lot of Virgo. I have Virgo in Venus in Virgo. Blah, blah, blah. Um, one thing a lot of people don't know, and I'm going to use some technical terms here, but I'm going to try to explain them.
Mm-hmm.
So each planet, or each planet has rulership of two signs, which means they're really happy there. That's where they belong. That's their home. They are king of the castle there. Then they also have detriment in each sign where they're like really uncomfortable. Like, why am I here? I don't know anybody here. What the hell, man? Get me out of here. Then they have fall in each sign, which is even worse than detriment. And they also have exaltation, which it's almost even better than rulership because it's like being at the house where you are treated like the queen or the king, not just the king of the castle, but you're being treated with really, really great, like royalty. So it's a Detriment and rulership. So each planet, each zodiac has a planet that is detriment, rulership, exaltation, or fall. And they share all the way around. There's only 7 planets, but there's 12 zodiacs. Now, Virgo is the only planet that has, or wow, my brain, forgive me, is the
Love
only
it.
zodiac sign. Yeah, Virgo's a planet now. Didn't you know?
I want to go there. I think I relate to a lot of people there.
It's the only zodiac sign that has a planet both in rulership and exaltation. All the other signs only have one or the other. Karina says Gemini moon. Yes, we will one day. So it's got, and Kelly says, yes, I am Cancer in Venus. So it's rulership and exaltation. Mercury rules and exalts in Virgo. That is the happiest place for it. If you have any Virgo in your chart, it means you are highly intelligent and quick, 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 quick. Karina says, oh, wow, 4 in Virgo. That's a ton. And Cassidy's laughing. And Rebecca says, do any other Virgos get through Mercury retrograde without issues? Yes. Most often, it is Virgo energy that has Mercury retrograde in their chart. So we would have to see if people with Mercury retrograde in their chart breeze through Mercury retrograde because the rest of the world's finally seeing things their way. And retrograde, what a retrograde does is it doesn't change what Mercury or that planet is. It doesn't change it. It makes it more insightful. It makes it more inward thinking, and it makes it slow down a little bit so that it can take things into consideration and look back on the past to see what didn't work so that they can make things work moving forward. Retrogrades are actually really good things as far as working out past baggage and moving forward. Now, it's both Mercury and Uranus that are really hell on technology and communication. And next week, both of them are going to be retrograde. So be prepared. But Mercury rules and is exalted in Virgo. So Virgo does actually know what's good for everybody, but nobody wants to hear it. And Cassidy said, that's very interesting. Thank you. Kelly's laughing. And Miss Collins said, ugh.
So
Excuse
much
me, yeah.
going on. So much going on.
There's
We
a
got all
lot
these
going on.
planets. Yeah, we got all these planets going crazy, retrograding.
Come
It's got a lot.
next um Monday, Monday or Tuesday, you know me in time. There will be 6 planets retrograde and there will be 3 aspects, and an aspect is where they line up together and make an angle, like squares, trines, sextiles, all of that. And so there'll be 6 retrograde planets and 3 aspects, and every aspect involves a retrograde planet. It's like we're going to be doing some heavy thinking, and the past is coming to bite us on the ass. Okay. But it's a really good opportunity to see what you did right and what you did wrong and to move forward with clarity. It's going to be a roller coaster of emotion is all.
Yeah.
And 2 of those aspects are with Virgo, so there will be a great deal of worry. Virgos are the best worriers. They excel at worrying.
No. Not Virgo.
Cassidy said, let's buckle up, folks. No, right? And Kelly said, wow, that's amazing. I see me. LOL. And Rebecca says, so Mercury RX, welcome to Virgo's world. LOL. Yeah, yeah, it will be Mercury retrograde in Virgo. So hold on tight, people. In fact, that happens, the Mercury retrograde happens Wednesday. Cassidy says Virgo is such an amazing energy. Hashtag put a Virgo in the White House. Hold on, I'm so sorry. Okay. It was done, Cassidy. Hold on 1 second. I am so sorry.
I may not be full Virgo, but I got plenty of planets in it.
You are so honorary, Virgo. In fact, I bet if we did a chart ruler, like everybody's chart, like just because you're a Cancer sun does not
Right.
mean that your chart ruler would be the moon or Cancer. With all of the information or the planets that you have in Virgo, Virgo or Mercury would probably be your chart ruler. It's like on a scale, like where the planets are happy, what the planets are doing. And Cassidy says, "Oh my God, ha ha ha! Ha. Y'all just saw Mercury retrograde start early for me, but I kind of live there constantly." So, and Kelly says, "LOL, organization is the key to success."
So,
In my
but you know
case,
how you just mentioned how Mercury's hitting you a tad early, and by watching, all the astrology and things like that, a lot of people forget the phases of the sun and how that can amplify something to make it a little bit stronger or happen
yeah,
sooner. And right now we're in those phases of the sun that are just whipping out them solar storms, blowing things our way that we wouldn't have gotten so quickly. And this is what, the 11th year. So it's going to start going, it's going to start, guys, we're at that 11th year. So that means it's going to start calming down. It's going to stop hitting us as fast. Doesn't mean we're going to stop going through it. Because trust me, the universe is going to make us go through what we need to, but we won't get it so early.
yeah, yeah. We do get it a little early, but I am in a continual flux of maybe not miscommunication, but miscombobulation.
And it's called
So
squirrelism. Didn't we get this right the other day? I think it was in the last one. We had a whole squirrelism
y'all even
conversation.
named it.
Mhm. But I do have to tell you, Bunny's in the running for your title on that. Your squirrelism
Squirrel
and your
bunnyism. It was mine
yes, we got
first.
just saying. She's in the running for it. She's trying. She's trying hard. She's like, I want that title. But that's Journey's forest creatures. They apparently are tongue tied.
Tongue-tied and have no concept of time. When she said she had 800 years worth of what was it? Something tangible, 800 years worth
Yeah.
of books. And I was like, she speaks my language. Kelly says, I have several lists for that. Virgo with the list. And Miss Collins says, LOL, squirrelism. It's very real. I,
The
I,
other
I, and it's contagious, y'all.
the comparison too between Virgo and keeping that list and wanting to make things, there has to be that structure. Another one that's strong in that is Capricorns. Capricorns are really strong about things must be this way.
Now, the
They
difference
just don't
between
do it as nicely.
yeah, they don't do it as nicely. Well, see, now Virgo is considered like if we look at the sixth house, which is where Virgo is most comfortable. And Rebecca says, I have no sense of direction, LOL. I get lost in McDonald's, honey. I got but if I'm really lost, I can find my way. Just don't tell me left, right, east, west, none of that crap. Just let me find my way. But okay, so if you look at the house of where Virgo is most comfortable, which would be the sixth house, that is the house of service to others. So you can see where, especially with Estrella, where she was trying to be of service to humankind. And Virgo is happiest when it can be of service, like pure Virgo. There's some Virgos, they might have a Mars or a moon or a rising that make them completely different, or a weak Virgo placement. But in the sixth house, it needs to be of service. Where Capricorn's natural house is the 10th house, and that is the house of my career, my dignity, my appearance. So while they're both earth signs, which gives them that what is that called? Organization, that word I'm not real familiar with. It gives both of them that level of organization. Virgo is more geared toward serving others, and Capricorn is more geared, pure Capricorn, toward making itself look good. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the difference between the two. And that's pure, like a
Miss
Capricorn.
Collins,
Capricorn.
she
He sent all the goats and the clowns and the Capricorn. And Rebecca says, calling out K, LOL. And Kelly says, moon and rising Aquarius. So there's that. That's one thing, like a lot of people will say, well, I don't identify. Miss Collins said, coming for me in my notes.
Journey has tons of notes himself.
So wow, a lot of people will say, I just don't identify with my sun sign. And Rebecca says, yep, I read that. Again, it can be a weaker placement. Love Heals said, yes, I love to be of service of others. It makes that Virgo energy feel alive. Virgo needs to feel connected to people. It's almost as connected as Libra, but it just loves to be of service. And Miss Collins says, success is a decision, LOL, says the Capricorn, LOL. And Rebecca says, I was like, thanks, Mom. Okay, let me see if I can finish this thought. While we may not identify with our particular sun signs, a lot of us will, but there are six other factors in your chart. There is, okay, it's the sun and the moon and the rising. Those are the three strongest. Those are the planets and the perspective. Rising is not a planet that is closest to us. The rising is where we are in our world. And then we have Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Mars comes before Venus. And those are our personal planets. Those are planets that impact us, give us our instincts and urges to do things when and where and how we play that out. And then we have our impersonal planets, which are Saturn and Jupiter. And those are fainter impulses. Those planets are way, way out there. And then, of course, we have Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, who are so far away and last so long that those will affect us on a generational level. They rarely affect us exactly personal unless they are in a very, very tight aspect with another planet. And I'm not trying to give a whole like lesson on astrology here,
astrology lesson.
but each of those planets do factor into our personality and how we react to the world. And it makes each of us very, very complicated, very, very messy, because I've never seen a chart where all the planets and signs play nice together. Not a single one. If I ever do, I'm going to be scared. You know, like, what is this person capable of? But we are very complicated, beautiful, messy, messy creatures. And we have so many factors that make us us, and not just our charts, but the parents who raised us, the climate we live in, the communities we live in, you know? And I'm sorry, I like did a Virgo thing right there. I just went on a tangent, didn't I?
I was just going to say, bring it back, bring it back. We're talking about Virgo. But there's some really cool information coming in September as we get into our new season where we'll be talking about astrology weekly.
Yes, I'm excited about that.
You guys get to learn all kinds of cool, fun facts about astrology, how it affects you. Oh, it's going to be good. And we're going to get some reminders of some of these stories that you guys are hearing about right now as we speak, and really get some cool stuff on that. So I can't wait to see that show. That'll be coming up in September. So, guys, get ready. There's more astrology heading your way.
I'm excited. Kelly says, I love this information. And Karina says, love this. I'm so glad. And Rebecca says, I'm a Libra moon. Oh, I'm a Libra rising.
Well, Libra's coming up next. That'll be our next sign to hit.
Mind
Exactly.
blowing. Mind blowing. Yeah, Libra is probably the strangest story you'll hear me tell.
And then after that, we'll only have three more to go. And then we have
I know.
completed all of our we've completed all of our signs. But like I said, we've got that astrology show coming up, which again, you guys will hear more of these stories and all these beautiful things that we want to talk about. So it's going to be completely awesome. So hopefully you guys are tuning in and your guys are hitting those subscribe buttons and making sure that you're paying attention to when those shows come out because I know you got some astrology questions.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to talk
And
about some of the mixes.
I I just love how being able to look at somebody's chart really gives you an understanding of them. Does it I have found by learning astrology that I have become a lot more compassionate toward other people, understanding of where they're coming from, and also a little less bossy about telling them how they should do something because their chart's not the same as mine and they're not going to do it the same way I am. You know what I mean?
Right. But the coolest thing about astrology is knowing that when you're getting your charts read, they should be similar. They should be almost exact. So looking at looking at it, so if let's say you gave an astrology and then I was to do it, they should be the same as long as you're giving the same information.
Well, at this moment, there's a lot of pop astrology going around, and you
Yeah,
got people who are going to use asteroids. There are over 1 million asteroids in the asteroid belt. If you used them all, we would never be able to read a chart. And Miss Collins said, I'm a Libra rising. Booyah. That's why I love you so much. Kelly says it really helps to understand each person's individuality because the way these energies mix, we're all so incredibly unique. But you do have a lot of pop astrologers out there that use things that I feel are bullshit, but
uh-huh.
let them read their stuff. But you also, even within the circle of traditional astrologers, you have like different houses and different methods of coming to the same information, or like house systems. Like the house system I use is completely different than the house system that one of my best friends uses, and we come up with different information, but it's not so vastly different that it doesn't still apply. So, what the house systems are areas of life that we put our energy into and how we do that. So, she's looking at a different area of life than me, but
Mm-hmm.
it still pertains. We just have extra information for each other. So,
Right.
yeah, you could get a reading from me and then you could get a reading from her, and they would be somewhat different. Not vastly, because we'd still be using the same kinds of energies as far as horoscope, zodiac, but those
Yeah.
planets might be in different houses. So it all comes together. It's pretty cool. It's just you wouldn't be able to read
And
a chart with all the different house systems, or you'd be reading for a year for one client.
and the way I receive the astrology is most different than anybody I know.
That's true. That's true.
So it just depends on that, but they should be similar because these planets and these time, your birth date and your time of birth, and even the hemispheres that you live in,
Yes.
they
And
play a
then
factor.
too, that's if we're all using Western astrology. Vedic
Mhm.
astrology is another animal altogether. And Kelly says, I love how you explain everything so it's easier to understand. Thank you, Kelly. Because sometimes I think I'm talking in the technical terms and nobody's understanding. And what's the good in that, right?
Everybody's googling the words you're saying.
I know, like, what the hell?
Sextile. When did these planets start having sex?
Right? On the tile. What was that
I
song? It wasn't me.
yes, there we go.
On the bathroom floor.
Or on the planets. Let's start using the planets. But definitely, we've got so many. We've gotten through so many so far, and we still have a few more to get through, and we cannot wait to tell you those stories. Or again, Libra is right around the corner, and we'll be posting that for you guys to see. And you know, Virgos, you guys have to try to less complicate your life. That is something that, again, working so much harder to judge yourself, or it's one of your, I feel as though for every Virgo that should be at least one of their goals, is not to
Yes.
overcomplicate something for themselves.
Yes. Virgo. Perfect. Overcomplication. It's like, use the term kiss. Well, I can't say the whole kiss. Nobody here is stupid, but we'll say keep it simple. We don't want to say stupid. So what can we use for the last S? Keep it simple. We're just making it
uh,
KIS, kiss.
yeah. So but the thing about it is that you know Virgos, they beat themselves up.
They do. They do. And Kelly said, we are forever young. Yeah, no, I don't know. And Rebecca says meditation helps. And I would like to say, and Rebecca says, good advice. I would like to say that for most Virgos, especially if they have Mercury in Virgo, because Mercury is never going to go too far from the sign it's in. But Virgo mind is, and we get taught that meditation is stilling your mind. Virgo energy, strong Virgo energy has to find an active way to meditate, or their brains will not let them meditate. They Virgos are really good with some kind of kinetic movement for meditation, or for daydreaming for meditation, so that they it's not that we want to shut our minds up. It's not perfect stillness that a Virgo energy mind can achieve. It's getting your mind to listen to you and concentrating on the right things. That's the kind of meditation that Virgos need to go for. You hear that, Journey?
I didn't hear anything you were saying. My mind was going.
Well, like you, okay, all that Virgo energy you possess. And tell
Mm-hmm.
me if I'm wrong, but 99% of the time, not 100, but 99% of the time, work is a form of meditation for you.
It is.
Yeah,
Anything you're passionate about is, if a Virgo can find their passion and use that on a daily basis, they can calm their brains down
yeah.
because they're using what they want to use, and it's so strong.
Rebecca says I had a really hard time for a long time, but it's doable now. That's pretty impressive because most Virgos, I'd have to see where your Mercury is. But a lot of Virgos are like, oh, hell no. And us poor little Gemini moons, it's like, No, ain't gonna happen. Like 3 o'clock in the morning, and you got to wake up at 4:30, and you're still going. What about this? It's brutal.
Exactly. It is brutal. And, you're going to find that most Virgos have insomnia.
Mm.
It's something that I've noticed. Um, Most of them have insomnia due to the fact that they don't know when to put a phone down. They don't know when to put a book down. They don't know when to stop doing something so their brains can quiet. Because if they're constantly feeding or educating the brain, and giving them another land of what if or how to do it or how to make 6,426 lists, they're going to keep
I
staying
bet.
awake.
I bet if we wrote that book, it would be a bestseller because every Virgo in the world would buy it.
Every Virgo in the world would buy it and they would read it 3 times. And it would be thicker than 4 phone books
They'd buy
because they would
copies
not
for their
miss a
best
beat.
friend.
They would not miss a beat and they would repeat themselves but explain it in a different way.
Oh, yeah. You can tell I got a little bit of Virgo going on.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
I repeat myself when under stress. I repeat myself when under stress. And Rebecca says, me. LOL. And Kelly says, me too. And that's funny.
But the thing is that when a Virgo is trying to communicate something and they don't feel that the person in front of them has understood or accepted what they said, they go about fixing what they said and repeating it in a different way because we go back to, I want to help everybody. I want to help everybody. But they got to understand that not everybody's going to be open or accepting to what their version of it may be. And that's really hard for Virgos to accept.
Yeah.
And so they find, oh, I can do it. I can do it. I can, because if they don't do it, then they feel that they have failed.
And
And
then they
Virgos
say,
do not take failure very well at all.
even when they didn't fail, even when they got through to the other person, they're still up half the night saying, "But what if I said it this way? Or I could have done this better." They're constantly, especially on themselves, trying to perfect their communication skills and their just about everything about themselves. Even when things go well, they're saying, "I could have done that better."
Virgos will always do that. Well, Squirrel, we have come to our hour. Our time is up for Virgo.
That
It
was
just flew on
fast.
exactly, and we were having such a great conversation. But I'm going to go ahead and let you say your goodbyes and put one more thing up here for Kelly.
Yeah. Kelly says, "No worries. We will analyze that every which way till the answer comes." No. Okay, one more thing before I go. Virgo, Virgo, Virgo. Any of you who are Virgos, you please don't do this to yourself. Virgo will have a tendency to overanalyze something so much that they don't get jack shit done. Don't do that to yourselves. Stop and recognize when it's happening to you because I know you guys got some great ideas and some great plans. But if you keep saying, but what about if this happens and making contingencies for your plans until the cows come home, nothing gets done and you're stuck where you were or even further behind. But you guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. I was very thrilled to tell this story, and I'm so glad I got to share it with you. Join me next week, month, for Libra, and prepare to be blown away because what I got to tell you about Leo, you're going to go, say what? So be there. I'll see y'all then. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye.